Hello! I thought it might be nice to share what I take on some of my trips. This next trip that I'm doing this weekend is my trip for the RunDisney Princess Half Marathon weekend. But I'm doing something a little new and I'm flying on Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airline only allows a pretty small carry-on. What they allow is 16 inches by 12 inches by 9 inches or something pretty small like that, which is a bit smaller than a regular sized carry-on is allowed. This is the personal bag, so essentially it has to fit underneath the seat in front of you. And so I'm trying to fit everything I'm bringing along on this trip into the carry-on that'll fit on Spirit Airlines, which is going to be a little bit more difficult because it is a RunDisney's trip, which means I am doing a race. So I have to make sure I have all of my race gear along as well. So to start off, I got this bag. It is just a pretty nice, actually meant as a travel bag. It is a Jessica Simpson bag that I got at Marshall's, so it wasn't as expensive as if you were getting it at a department store. I think it was like $25, and I looked online and they're going for like $100. It is nice because what it has on the back is this spot here for if you're doing any rolled luggage. So you can hook this on the top of the handle, so you only have one thing to carry along through the airport, which can be really nice because depending on what airport you're in, you can be walking for a long time. To start off, there's this front pocket here. And in it, I just have my wallet. I'll have my boarding pass in there as well as my race waiver, just to keep all my documents together in a reasonably accessible spot. That's the only external pocket. On the inside, there is a pocket in the back. I don't know if you can really see that, but there's a pocket in the back. And inside there, I've just got my sunglasses because that way I know that they're somewhat safe. I'll keep all of my food in there as well. So right now, that means my Cliff Bars, which are great when you're traveling because they pack a lot of energy and nutrients into such a small place. But for traveling or a short amount of time, it's not a bad thing to have. It's also really good for before a race. I also really like these guys. They're really nice because they just taste good. The Tropical Punch is actually really nice. They squish down pretty small, so I've brought them on races before. Normally don't bring food unless it's longer than 10K. So like if I'm doing a half, I might bring food, like this type of thing along on the race. But they're really nice because you can just pop one and suck on it for a while. Another one that I really like is this Crowbar. It is a brownie one, so heavy protein, once again, super gonna fill you up. But this one tastes like a brownie, and it is the consistency of a energy bar, but it does taste like a brownie, so that's pretty nice. So I've got some of that food to bring along for the race, and that way, like they always say, don't change up your diet before a race. I have that every so often when I'm doing runs anyway, so I'm used to it. Also have in that same pocket my massager. This is just a Moji one. It's pretty nice because you can put your hand into it. They have it now, this is an older version, now they have it with bigger balls on the outside so you can get a little bit deeper of a rub. But it is great to use after the race on your calves. May or may not need it, but it's nice to have it along. I tend to use it on my over half marathon runs anyway, just because you can get tight, especially if you're racing. Your legs do get tighter than you normally would when you're just going out for a run. So it is nice to massage the area that is tight so that you're not going to have as much pain the next day. There is another little compartment on the other side of the bag, and I've just put my swimsuit in there. I put my swimsuit into a little Ziploc bag so it's nice and contained in case I want to go to the pools or anything like that. I am staying at the Polynesian, so I haven't done that since I was a little kid. So I kind of want to explore the area, but I'm undecided as to whether or not I will. I think the forecast is like in the 70s. So it may or may not happen. But I do have my swimsuit in case I want it. Which is really nice because my swimsuit matches my hat. I love this hat. It's just a trucker hat. I wore it almost every day when we were in Hawaii. I have been wearing it all summer, and I don't think I look good in hats, but it's really good because it has a brim, so the sun's not going to hit you as bad. And yes, because I'm a little bit of a dork and I do get a deal with Prana, I have gotten everything connected, so my swimsuit matches my hat. Next thing I've got are my running shoes. I just put them inside one of these plastic bags. This one, it's a Target bag. I just put it inside one of the plastic bags so I have it contained. That way there's no dirt all over my bag, but I want to have my shoes as small as I can get them as well. These are probably the biggest thing in my carry-on right now. They are Merrell barefoot shoes, so they are a little bit smaller than some of the other ones that you're going to get, but they still are shoes, so they have a lot of space to them. I'm only bringing one other pair of shoes, and they are Sanuk, so they have this really cushy footbed to them. I find that I can walk around all day in Disney World in those. I'm not actually going to the parks this time, but I will be going to downtown Disney, so that involves a lot of walking. They're just really good, comfortable foot cloths. I do have this little case that I just recently got at REI. It is an Osprey bag. It is kind of cool because it does have the little hanger. So you can hang it up and you have everything that you need, like in the bathroom or wherever you want to hang it. I found I've only used it a couple of times with the hanger because I tend to lay things out on the countertop. To me, that's a little bit easier because then it's not swirling around, but to each their own. It is kind of nice to have. In this, it's pretty much like my makeup bag and hair supplies, things like that. I've got a couple of Prana headbands for running, just in case I do decide to use them. I've worn the pink one a couple of times during races, so I might not wear that just because I don't want to wear the exact same thing and look like I'm not changing anything up every year, but I do tend to wear the exact same outfit for the princess just because to me it works. I've got this little, I don't even know where I got this bag, but I've got all my bobby pins into it. I've got a couple of hair ties as well as my floss. On the back side of that same spot, it's actually an open-aired space, so I put my toothbrush in there so that if it is still wet when I put it away, it doesn't get all nasty. Up in the top section, I've got my makeup, just a couple of eyeshadows, foundation, and a blush in case I really want to do it. Being that it's a race, I'm definitely not going to be wearing makeup during the race because you just sweat it off and that's awful for your pores. But I might do it afterwards when just hanging out. I plan to go to, like I said, downtown Disney as well as the tiki bar that they have at the Polynesian. So I might dress up a little bit nicer, but it's Disney World, so you don't have to go crazy. In the back side here, I've also got all my brushes, including my hairbrush. Being that I have to pack light, I am just taking this tiny little brush. I don't really do much to my hair anyway, but I need a brush, so I'm taking the smallest thing I have. And then Tide to Go. I think this thing is a great thing to have. I've used it a couple of times. I can be a little clumsy, so food has gotten on my clothes. It is nice because then you can do the pre-treatment right away when you're on vacation rather than waiting to get home and knowing that it's set. So I always bring that along too. So I got this set of 3, I believe they're Chico bags from REI. I know they were clearance, so I don't know how much longer they'll have them, but they're really nice because I was getting sick of just having a Ziploc bag because the Ziploc bags can tend to break apart if you stuff them too much, or they're kind of flimsy. This is a really nice plastic as well as a good nylon on the back and a hardy zipper. It's also kind of cool because it has this wrist lid to it. So when going through security, I can pull this out easily and still use my hands for everything I need and then just throw this down into one of the bins to get through security pretty easily. Now in here I do have just a couple of things. I definitely did not fill up the quart size, so if I want to bring anything back, I still have that ability too, because I'm kind of tempted to stop at Basin, see what I might end up getting there. But I can definitely bring something back if I want to. I've just got eye drops in case I do have allergies while down there. Lipstick, lip gloss, my mascara, just for in case they consider that a gel. I'm not actually sure if they do or not, but it's easier just to put it in there rather than have issues going through security. I do have a liquid Band-Aid in here, which is wonderful because then you can still go in the water, you can do anything, and not have to worry about the Band-Aid falling off or the pain that happens when like salt water hits you. Granted, there'll be no salt water down here, but on the last vacation we had a lot of salt water and it was good to have the liquid Band-Aid. My toothpaste is in there, as well as just a lotion, so that in case my hands are really dry right now, so I can still use it down in Florida, even though it might not be as necessary down there. So I've got these wonderful things. They are part of the Eagle Creek packet system. These are the compression bags. I've got some of the non-compression bags, and I've got a couple of the other pieces from the packet system, but my favorite has to be the half cube compression bags. This in here, it feels almost like a brick. It is super heavy. It has a couple of outfits and a full-size dress in there, everything. Pretty much all of my regular clothes are in this one, and it zips up. You can just see, let me show you, that this is how big it was, and then it packs down to about that size. So it is pretty nice that you can fit so much into it. I love these. Ever since I've gotten them, I've used them on everything, and I tell everyone to use these because they are so wonderful. Much better than the other kind of travel compression bags that they have out there, because these are easier to use and they don't have as much plastic on the excess. It doesn't compress down as much as like the rolling space bags that they have, but I find them to be a lot more useful. And then in here, I've got all of my race stuff. I've got a couple of different outfits. I've got my compression sleeves for my legs in case I want to use them. Mostly I'm bringing those in case it's really cold out. I've run with them and I've run without them, and I really don't find a difference. And even for recovery purposes, I don't find them to be that important. I've definitely used them for recovery and I've seen a little bit of a difference, but it's not worth it that much. For warmth though, it is definitely worth it. I've also got arm sleeves in there as well in case it is cold. I think it's supposed to be like 50 degrees, so not that bad. I might just go in my shorts and tank top, but if it is cold enough where I need to use those, I want to have them. Then, like as part of that Chico bag set, I got two other bags. This orange one, I'm just putting all of my charging cables into it to keep them together and so the cables aren't in everything. In this one, I've got my more of my race essential. I've got this speed belt, which it depends on what I'm carrying to if I need it. I'm not a big fan of things bouncing around, and this does bounce a little bit. It does get pretty tight because it is stretchy, but it does still bounce a little bit. But I can fit a lot into it, so it's nice to have along on the race. So I'll probably bring in and put my gel shots in there, my gel shots in there so that I can eat those along the way. I've also got some KT tape, which I've just been bringing along on all my races just in case. Now, if it was just a one-day race, I don't think I'd worry about this, but in case I somehow injure myself on the 10K, I do have this to use on the half marathon so I can still make it through. Being a challenge, there is always that possibility. I think last year it was so cold that my hip decided not to keep up with the rest of my running, and it did hurt a lot throughout the half marathon, just because it was so cold at the 10K that I kind of hurt myself. But these type of things will help with that possibility. I've also got my Forerunner 10. It's a little bit older of a watch, but it is tried and true. It is good for pacing. I can set it to however fast I want to go, and it will yell at me if I'm not keeping speed. Otherwise, just to have an idea of where you are. Especially on these races, because they are so crowded, it's hard to see the mile markers and to know what time it is. They are pretty good. They are really big signs, but not always visible. if you're on the wrong side of the road or if there's people taking pictures in front of it. So I've got my watch so I know where I am along the race route. Now, my goal is to not really look at it that much, but it is nice in case I want to know or in case I'm getting worried that I'm falling too far behind. I'll also be bringing along, like my phone will go in the outside pocket with my wallet. I will have my iPod. My iPod will also go out there, so I have something to listen to. And then my iPad will be along on the inside for safety reasons. But those are all still charging, so they haven't made it into my carry-on yet. So that is it. That's everything that I've got in my carry-on. I really don't need much more since I'm only going for 3 days, but because of Spirit's regulations, that's all I'm going to bring along. I hope you guys got some good insight. Maybe we'll use some of these tips when you fly on Spirit or when you do your RunDisney races. Thank you for watching.